Yeah. So I'll start. Here's Dan. Here's our business again.
It's my pleasure to welcome our guests today. Mr. Alex Brown, he's a guest of the club, just recently moved to Trinity County. And, he wants to be a member, so I'll give him Molly. Our long-running guest is Stephanie Kissinger, guest is Jake Jones, Mr. Caleb Hutchinson, guest is Jerry Falk, another one that wants to become a member, and it's Tiffany Bray. Guest of Tabitha. There she is over here. Also for membership, so hey, a lot of new members come on in, it's great to be here.
Good welcome again. Next week we'll be able to induct 2 new members that we're excited about that. We do have some birthdays and anniversaries. Bill Bowling had a birthday on Monday, and we were able to celebrate that at our social, and you all were able to join us for that. That was a lot of fun. And we really appreciate Philip Abbott for letting us use 134 Main. That was a great space to be in. So happy birthday to him. I know he's not here with at the meeting today. Club member anniversary, we have 3 today. Shirley Penny Baker has 11 years today. My mom, 11 years today. And Dr. George Henry, 47 years total today, 28 in our club. So congratulations and thank you for your support. And we do have one wedding anniversary, which is also today. So a big day. Jake and Liz Jones, 20 years today. So congratulations. We have a few club announcements. The blue buckets that are on your table, those are the CART, which is Coins for Alzheimer's Research Trust. And in case you're not familiar with that, the CART Fund was founded in 1995 by the Terry Sucker, South Carolina. It's a nonprofit grassroots organization that provides seed money for cutting-edge high impact research grants to help find a cure or a treatment for Alzheimer's. 100% of every dollar money goes directly to the research. And since 1999, 64 grants have been granted with more than $13 million in awards. So it's a very worthy project that we support. So put your change in there, put your dollar in there, write a check. We'll be doing this for a few weeks, but we really do appreciate the support that enables us to contribute to this project. Other club announcements, John, you want to, John,
I think this month for Red Cross is the Red Rotary Park, you're getting for a blood drive. It's going to be at the Coleman Center. You can register using these little cards, and that's on the 24th. And then still recruiting volunteers for the 5K in September. And you are in several ways to volunteer. Please do.
Thank you, John. Any other club announcements? Okay. Happy Dollars. We have some Happy Dollars if anyone wants to share.
I would ask you to take out your phone and mark February 22 at 7 o'clock to Union Square, if you can. That would be great. $1 parade, you know. And the mayor gets the promotion. He gets to be promoted to board mayor, not me.
So you have on your table a card about National History Day. Orange College is involved, it's supposed to these events, state and Brunswick for the state actually. And we're thrilled to have a lot of bright middle school and high school students come to campus and come to our area with their parents and spend time here. They're coming to have projects, right, judged. And we need judges, they have 125 judges. Here's the deal, you do not have to be a historian. You do not have to be an educator. You have to be someone who's inspired by smart, intelligent students standing in front of you, sharing what they researched on a variety of topics. It is a day commitment. You can scan this card, check on what judges view, and you can sign up to be a judge. It's a wonderful opportunity. Take this, because if you have a neighbor, retired educators, anybody that is interested in this office, we would love to have you support of that.
Thank you.
Only $2 for Rotary on the Bar Club, and you know, great work on the first standing lead, great job. I think she's been under the weather this week, but great job putting together the social last Thursday night. That was a lot of fun. And then if you're looking for an advantage to be in the Rotary, just the action thing to make it really good. I intended to go to behind the mask, right in for the season, so didn't have a ticket. Got on the lady with it, then decided I'm not my husband, and so the other one was Sherry Coates. I called him to do a last minute cancellation, and get him in. That's a great event. 39 hours of time. It's a great job, great event for our community, and enjoy the table. Like I said, we got the Gordon also. So thank y'all.
Thank you, Robert, for great things that are happening. And at this time, we got down here and come back up to introduce our speaker for today.
Okay, just real quick, tiny little bit of background. I used to belong to the Muskogee Rotary Club. Sure, Cody was a member also down in Columbus morning breakfast club down at the country club there. That's where I first heard the star or the speaker today, and I was just shocked, by the information. I was not. I didn't realize it was really a thing. So it'll be good to get re-included in that to hear it. Another connection is our son, our youngest son, my youngest son, and one of her nephews, were scouts together in both Eagle and Troop 555 down in Midland, Georgia. And then her brother is a retired Special Forces soldier who, for years, treated my knee in his second career as a orthopedist down at the Martin Army. So I have a pretty good connection with the Star family. They're all terrific folks. But anyhow, Ms. Bobby Star learned about commercial sexual exploitation of children in 2009 while attending a National Victims of Crime Conference in New Orleans. Learning more about the issue, including what steps are necessary to provide help to the victims of trafficking, the absence of advocacy, and measures necessary to eradicate the issue altogether. Ms. Star obtained a BA in sociology with concentration in crime, deviance, society from Columbia State University, as well as an academic excellence in sociology in the Year Award in 2014. She then completed an MBA in criminal justice, graduating from Stone Pilot. Previously, Ms. Star served as a victim advocate, prevention, and awareness coordinator with Sexual Assault Support Center in Columbus, and is now the executive director and co-founder of Micro's Plans. Ms. Star is a community activist, addressing the issue of commercial sexual exploitation of children, and leads her organization in building a therapeutic treatment facility for girls aged 12 to 17 that will address the complex trauma of CSE survivors. Micro's Promise is a partner agency with the Georgia Statewide Human Trafficking Task Force, and Ms. Star is active on where February 2022, Ms. Star was selected to represent the Chattahoochee Judicial District on the Georgia State Expert Committee on Child Abuse, Sexual Assault, and Human Trafficking. She's also chosen as co-chair of the Human Trafficking Division of the committee, continues as a member currently. Ms. Star has 5 sons, for whom she's very proud. She's a member of Christ Community Church, St. Columbus. Ms. Star is also a child abuse, sexual assault survivor, and brings her lived experience to her advocacy work. Please Help me welcome the Bundy Star.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me here today. That was a mouthful, and I'm so sorry for yelling that. We do add in my bio all of that about my education and about my being a survivor, because so much of what we do is to try to help these kids who have gone through abuse know that they can be successful in life and there is an opportunity for them. And I just wanted to have it sooner than I did. So Micah's Promise, again, is an organization that is fighting. It's on screen. No, me and technology, not friends. I really can just work the computer. So in 2009, when I learned about trafficking at that conference, I was already advocating for special support centers since the mid-1990s. And I was blown away that this was happening to children, and especially children in our state. Because at that national conference in New Orleans, that breakout session on commercial sexual exploitation of children was put on by our state, our Attorney General's office, our Department of Juvenile Justice.
Which one is it?
So, being the impulsive person that I am, and already being a fierce advocate, I went up to the advocate and said, what can Columbus, Georgia do? Y'all are in Atlanta. You just told me that this is happening throughout our state. What can Columbus, Georgia do to help with this problem? And they told me, in that dinner that night, that we needed therapeutic placement for these kids because they were being victimized by our justice system for being arrested for prostitution and solicitation. As young as 9 and 10, 11 years old. So I took that information back. I know I'm an advocate. I know I can use my voice. And I thought I will keep telling until somebody does something about it. So here I am. Initially, nobody believed me. I spent years trying to get people to listen, law enforcement teachers, social workers, DFACs. I started my education in 2010, driven by rage, honestly. But also, the Lord was so good to show me, just keep plugging away. So the things that I didn't know about myself, which these kids don't know about themselves, is their values, their worth, and their intelligence. I was able to succeed in undergrad because I was driven. So now our organization was officially started in 2014, our ministry out of Christ Community Church in Columbus. And we knew that education is always going to be key. We're going to have to continue education, prevention education, also advocacy. So I have advocated for several 3 or 4 court cases, juvenile court cases for juveniles to help the court understand that this child is actually a victim of sex trafficking and been able to successfully get them identified by the state and get them placement. And then the restoration piece is building that therapeutic home. Again, I thought I'm going to tell somebody, and somebody with the know-how is going to go and build it. Somebody who knows the business, somebody who, is already doing the good work like Twin Cedars is. But the CSEC facility needs to be just for children who experience commercial sexual exploitation. And I'll tell you why. So in saying that, I'm going to talk about some hard things, and I'm going to try to frame all this in the 20 minutes that I have to talk about this for hours. But somebody in this room might have experienced hard things. They might come from hard places. We know that 1 in 3 girls, 1 in 3 to 4 girls is sexually assaulted by the age of 15. 1 in 6 boys. So please just tune me out. But what is commercial sexual exploitation of children? It is a form of human trafficking. It is the legal definition, federal definition for human trafficking is through the use of force, fraud, or coercion. You compel another human being to do either a labor act or a sex act. When it comes to children, we don't have to prove force, fraud, or coercion because they cannot consent to being sexually sold. And when I say sexually sold, I'm not talking about just money. It's the exchange of anything of value. If you give a homeless child, let him sleep on your couch, require that you require him to perform a sex act, you are commercially sexually exploiting that child. If you give mom drugs or money in exchange for her child, you are committing human trafficking offense. Let's explain that. Let's get rid of the whole force, fraud, coercion. And when I say a child, anybody under the age of 18 is the legal. She can be 17 and a half, 17 and 3/4. If somebody exchanges anything of value with her or him in exchange for a sex act, that is commercial sexual exploitation. These were stats from, I think, 2023. In 2023, there were over 700 cases identified by our state CSAC response team, and they came from almost every single county in our state. The average age that a child is first identified is 14, but they've been in the life. This mirrors prostitution language. They've been in the life for over 11 and a half months. So you know that number is young, much younger. 26 youth were identified in the Chattahoochee Judicial District in 2023. 26, and 20 of them were in the Muskogee County area, and 18 were girls and 2 were boys. So the things that make, these are some stats that just kind of drive home who's vulnerable and where this is happening. So I already mentioned the early childhood abuse. In every single case of a child who is sexually, commercially sexually exploited, they have that early childhood history of being sexually abused. It's the number one preconditioning factor that makes these children vulnerable to later exploitation in their life. We have seen, in the children that we have served, all 7 of the girls that we have served were in the foster care system prior to their sexual exploitation. Very vulnerable. Children in our foster care systems are very vulnerable. Most are attending school. They're not hidden in a basement anywhere. They are not kidnapped and taken to another state and that sort of thing. It's hidden in plain sight. And then when we have stats like this for the number of homeless children throughout the U.S., 500,000 estimated homeless on their own, not homeless with families, highly vulnerable. Because what does a homeless child need? Food, shelter, our basic safety needs in shelter. And these perpetrators, this is where you don't need to have a third-party control. The perpetrator is just somebody who knows that child needs food and shelter, provides food and shelter, and then makes them exchange sex. Adverse childhood experience is something that we learned over just about 4 years ago. I became aware of adverse childhood experiences. And so children who are commercially sexually exploited have very high ACEs scores. And so you just go down this list, and I encourage all of y'all, it's free online, you can find the ACEs score test and just answer a few questions. So if you experience divorce in your family, if one of your parents is in jail or in prison, if there's been domestic violence in your family, if you've been sexually abused or physically abused, the more of those adverse experiences that child has, studies show they're much more likely when they become adults to develop diabetes, to develop heart disease, and to also be a victim of sex trafficking. Because what's happening is when trauma happens, your body, your brain is flooding your body with just all kind of things, cortisone, and it wreaks havoc on your whole physical self, your organs, everything. And they have high toxic levels of stress. So those stress hormones that just flood their body, and it's not just a one-time traumatic event, it's another trauma and another trauma and another trauma. So I'm constantly in hyper-vigilant and hyper-stress state. And that's what's happening with these kids. This is, what are some risk factors for kids? If y'all would just kind of look at that list and think of a middle schooler that you might know, and see if a middle schooler that you know might be going through this. every middle school that you know, every middle schooler that you know is vulnerable to trafficking because perpetrators play on these things, these natural things that happen to us. We hit puberty, we start just acting nutty, crazy, our body's being flooded with hormones, we're so insecure. Every middle schooler is insecure, even the most secure middle schooler. You know, they need to be, they need to feel like they have friends and that they matter. And then, you know, they start rebelling against mom and dad's rules because my friends at school don't have to do this, don't have to do that. And these perpetrators are so savvy at playing these kinds of things. Now think about your middle schooler or a child that you might know who has a cell phone. This is not a kidnapping thing like Sound of Freedom. Absolutely not. This is relationship building, the heart. These people come after getting to know what it is that this child needs. Most of the time it's love and attention, and or those basic food and shelter needs. But smartphones, y'all, it is the entryway for traffickers. It is online. Recruitment is online. Building that relationship with them is online. And also the selling of them is online. So when you see these news reports, and it infuriates me, because I've talked to the news and the media for 15 years, do not say runaway child. Say a missing, a critically missing child. But they say runaway every time. Well, a child is either running from something, right, or they're running to something. We need to figure out what they're running from. A lot of times they are running from group homes, even good ones, because they've experienced bad ones. So, you know, when they come to us or when they come to Sherry, they're not necessarily happy to be there because they don't know that they can trust you. They weren't able to trust that last one they were at. They weren't able to trust any other adult in their life. So of course, they don't come to us super happy, like, yeah, you're going to take care of them, right? Because they have so many levels of trauma. But we're seeing more and more and more kids, you know, going missing that turns out this 40-year-old or this 28-year-old who's been building a relationship with the child. And one recently was in the news for Harris County. This guy was in his 20s, was grooming this 12-year-old in Alabama. And then he comes and he picks her up from her house and takes him. And they got him. So anyway, that is exploitation. Again, I can't harp enough. 53% of American children by the age of 11 have their own smartphones. Their brain is not fully formed. They're operating out of the amygdala, this back brain that's all emotion. They cannot cognitively manage an adulthood, right? They're impulsive. They're in that part of their brain. And pornography is one click, not one click. And they're also being groomed with pornography. Once these adults get in with them, they start singing in it. They start then getting the kids to create their own, which is another type of sexual exploitation. And the children don't know what to do and they don't know how to get out of it. So these are the ways that I would tell you the pathways of recruitment. See at the bottom, kidnapping is on the way. Please. If you hear friends or see friends share on Facebook these things of, I was in Target today, and this guy kept following me through Target, and I saw that he had somebody else waiting outside, they were going to kidnap me, and there was a white van, and they never called the police, and they never, you know, it's just this myth. It's a myth. It is through relationships. Again, I've talked about this, and I know we have an hour. But I've talked about this. When you've got a child that has run away, and let's change the way we speak. We have to change our language. Our brains shut down, our advocacy part and compassion part of our brains shut down when we call a kid a runaway. The first thing that our brains latch onto is that child did an action, that child is being rebellious, that child is bad. That's a troubled teen. Instead of, that is a critically missing youth. That is a youth who needs help. And now they're even more vulnerable because they're out on the street. Again, what are they running from and who are they running to? Other labels that I would say, please, 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 we cannot call a child a foster child. We can't say, there's a new foster kid in school. So I went from being Bobby to now I'm coming into a new school, which happens to them a lot, and I'm not Bobby anymore, just that foster kid. I'm a troubled foster kid. I'm losing my identity one step at a time, over and over. These are the 5 major ways that children are trafficked in the US, in Georgia. 5 ways. Family facilitated trafficking makes up a very large amount of the trafficking. We had a case 2 years ago in Columbus, Kamari Holland. She was 5 years old. Her mother did not have custody of her. The father felt sorry for the mother. It was 2 weeks before Christmas. She talked him into letting her come visit. The next morning, she reports Kamari missing, and they found her that evening in Phoenix City. She had exchanged that child for $2,500 to her drug dealer. She knew he was going to have sex with her. He raped her to death. And he reported it. And he was going live with it because there were people that want to watch it. He has the death penalty, thank God. So familial trafficking is common. The average age that we, for other trafficking, that they're identified is say 13, 14. But the average age of a child in a family situation is first trafficked is 5. That's the average. And they're less likely to be identified because this is their family. They don't know anything else but this. And mom and dad have control of the narrative of their life, right? So they can keep it hidden longer. Do y'all have gangs in Lagrange? No. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. So gang facilitated trafficking, this is very lucrative for the gangs. So if I'm a drug dealer, if I'm in a gang selling drugs because we need income to run our business, and I run out of my drugs, I have to go procure more drugs, all those things. But when you're selling a teenager over and over, you're making bank way more than you're getting with selling drugs. So they're very coordinated, and this is a major way that they get income. Buyer facilitated is what I talked about earlier. The buyer himself is going to approach a homeless youth and offer either money or food or those things. And so there's no third party perpetrator. And then technology facilitated, y'all. Technology is, please talk to please discuss if your parents, again, really the depth of, do you want to give them that tablet? Do you want to give them that phone? There are ways to keep your kids safe online. You need to know where they're going online. Just like if they're going to a friend's house, where are you going? Who are you going with? And how long are you going to be there, right? We need to ask the same questions online. And there's also a company called Bark, like a dog, bark.us, that makes a phone that looks just like a smartphone, so they still get to fit in with their friends, but it has technology in it that monitors everything and alerts mom and dad. And it tells you and it helps you navigate how to have these conversations with your kids to keep them safe, so that you're not shaming the child and things like that. Where does trafficking happen? Everywhere. So I'm sure y'all have heard that Super Bowl is the #1 time of the year with the most trafficking. Well, it's a time of the year with 80,000 people congregating in one place. So yes, there is a lot of trafficking going on. But trafficking is happening every single day in neighborhoods, in hotels, in parks, cars, so in truck stops. I would also have y'all look at, so think of anything, the Super Bowl, what makes it special is you've got men away from home. And sorry, men. Let me say this, 80% of men do not purchase sex. That's really good. That's awesome. 20% do. 11% of those are the high frequent buyers, and they're very, very dangerous. 80% of men. That made me so happy when I learned that a couple of years ago. But so just think of any situation, conventions, Las Vegas, any situation where men, I'd say most buyers are white and have money in their pocket, and They could be somebody that sits next to your church. Any situation, what's the golf tournament? Masters. So anything like that, you're going to have the perpetrators bringing their girls so that they can make money. Oh, we're talking about Micah's Promise now. Yay. So we built the home. And I got to tell y'all, that was, eventually I realized, okay, God, it's me that you leading that build the therapeutic home. I kept waiting for somebody else to do it. But we completed construction in 2022, in December 2022. And it's amazing. I'm going to skip this because I don't have much time. Do I have 5 minutes? Do I have 5? More than 5?
So,
7, great. Okay, these are 2 particular cases that happened in Georgia. These are familial trafficking. These are real. One is an 11-year-old girl who, and you look at changes in behavior with kids. Like, this is critical. Like, our teachers, they know their kids, right? But they also have to deal with, they know what to look for. Say a new student comes in, they know that she's in foster care. They can be looking for signs. But this 11-year-old was a sweet kid, and all of a sudden starts acting out. She starts fighting everybody in her class. She starts behaving completely differently. She got arrested for breaking and entering. 11-year-old little baby, breaking and entering. Thankfully, the officer that dealt with that was trauma informed, was able to get her to tell him what was going on in her life. Because the first thing we need to ask is, how can I help you, sweetie? What's going on? We don't ask why. Why are you being bad? Why are you breaking all this? You ask what? What can I do for you? What's going on? Are you safe? Are you okay at home? Turns out mom had been selling her to put money on the books for dad who's in prison. And then the other one was a 15-year-old girl who ran away. Law enforcement went on call for 48 hours. Luckily, again, this law enforcement officer was like, oh, that's not right. What parent would wait 48 hours to call law enforcement? So he's asking the neighbors, hey, do you know this girl? And the neighbors are like, they're weird, man. We told them they better call law enforcement. Why? She's been gone for 2 days. But they also told law enforcement that over the last 2 years, they used to see her. Up until she was 13, they used to see her playing in the neighborhood, be walking to the friends' houses. They just hadn't seen her for 2 years, really. They had taken her out of school to homeschool. They never followed through. Nobody ever followed through with them to see if she was being homeschooled. What her parents were doing, her dad was a truck driver. What her parents were doing was selling her to an adult male who was living in their home and paying their mortgage. And when she finally couldn't take it anymore, she told her dad, God, you've got to, please let me stop. And he said, you will either be here or you will ride in the truck with me and you will service the truck. And she ran away. Thank God. And again, thank God there was a law enforcement officer who asked those questions. Why would a kid want to run away? Do you feel safe at home? And she was able to disclose. If we don't approach them in that manner, they're not going to disclose. Sex trafficking, the cycle of violence is very similar to domestic violence. If you know anything about how the mind and psychological control that an abuser does, if it takes 7 attempts for an adult to get out of an abusive relationship, how much harder is it for a child? These are all convicted felons who participated in trafficking, and so this is what they look like. They don't look like the guy in the overcoat, you know, hanging out at the park. They look like respectable people with position. This cheerleader, she was 18 in high school. She trafficked a 16-year-old who had Down syndrome. This guy next to her, he was a juvenile parole officer. He went to college, became a DJJ. He got a criminal justice like me. He became a parole officer, and he never quit his gang ties. So we think he probably went to college to become that, to then further his gangs industry. And so he trafficked youth under his authority and care. The guy next to him was a 911 operator and a police chief, fire chief. And he exploited a boy since he was like 11 years old. So for 10 years, he lured him in with a dirt bike and a crossbow. He actually committed suicide when he was charged. And the guy at the end represents our buyer. He is an award medal, service member, serves his country. He's a husband, a father of 3 daughters, and he was convicted of purchasing a 15-year-old on multiple occasions from her trafficker. So warning signs, again, any change in behavior in a child who has hotel key cards, that's kind of a no-brainer there. Multiple STDs, you've got a 12-year-old with 3 STDs. Y'all, syphilis is very, very real. I'm sorry, I'm very blunt. I'm just going to tell you. We've had 2 residents who have syphilis, and it's devastating. And so we also know that buyers drive this issue, and most buyers do not want trafficked people to wear condoms. So they're taking the syphilis home to their spouse. It's terrible. Just know. So if they're a young person, has an older boyfriend, there are changes in behavior, they used to have friends, they used to hang out with their friends, now they don't hang out with anybody, they're isolated, they've got this boyfriend, and they only communicate with this one person, all reasons to check in with them. It's that this is how you would report. Anybody can report if they have suspicion of trafficking. And I encourage you, if you have any reasonable suspicion that a child is being abused in any way, make that call to the DFACS hotline, Department of Family and Children's Services hotline. We have a state hotline, they are the Georgia Child Advocacy Center. They are our CSEC response team. So if you're a law enforcement, they're going to talk to you first. If you have a case and you think it might be CSEC, they're going to have their response team do an assessment on the child and start the ball rolling to get that child the resources they need. But even, community members can call that hotline. If you see some of the signs that we've talked about, a kid with, they can't afford it. Now they've got nails, they've got hair extensions, they've got any material trappings. You can make that call. And now the good part. 15 years I've been working on this. God. When it goes good, he's leading, but this is our intake room. So when a girl first comes to our therapeutic home, this is the first room she comes into. We have this amazing, the therapy room is on the left, and this is where we do individual and group therapy, stuffed animals everywhere. Y'all, I can tell you, I've had a resident that I nicknamed in my brain Stands With This. Like, she walked in, she's a boxer, and oh my gosh, I've learned so much from her. She walks in, stands with this, and it took us several hours to get her to agree to come back and pick out her things like that. And in the meantime, within the first 15 minutes, she escaped and showed us areas on our fence that we needed to share, get it. Some areas that we needed to shore up on the fence. She jumped that like a gazelle. We got it back in like 5 minutes. And again, once we just slowly built some trust with her and said, why don't you just come pick out? Okay, you don't have to commit, just come pick out your room. And so we took her to the girls' wing and said, do you get stuffed animals? She still stands with this. I'm like, yeah, I got a closet full of stuffed animals. Do you just look? And she was 15 and she has a 2-year-old daughter that's in care. The minute I opened up that stuffed animal closet, can I have one of those? You can have television. And that, she was a little girl again. So she picked out enough to cover her bed. Then she picked out some for her baby girl so that I could send it to the foster mom for her. And it's that right there that I wish people could see. Because, we see these kids, or the society sees these kids, and they're stealing from the gas station, generally because they need those hygiene products, or they need that. Or they're kicking in doors. Because that's their trauma. Like, they don't know any other way to tell you what's happening to them except to do it with their body that fits. And our job is to help them get what's going on in here, help them learn, help heal that trauma, and then set them on their path. So this is each wing of the girls' home has a community room. This is our classroom. Everything's on site that we can do on site. So on-site therapy, on-site education, not unlike Shepherd Home. And yeah, it's wonderful. Every girl has her own bedroom, her own bathroom. Again, with CSEC kids that have been experiencing commercial sexual exploitation, you don't want to mix populations. Because one of the first things that they learn while they're being exploited is how to recruit. And that's just survival. This is what this person's making me do. They're going to do it. I can sexually serve less people today. My quota's less. I might not take as much abuse if I've got to comply. And so they learn to recruit. And so you don't want to mix them with other populations. This is our outdoor classroom. I think it's amazing. So we can do anything out here, yoga. Eagle Scout is building us picnic tables and benches right now so that we can do class outside. Like there's so much studies that show being outside, like those of us who actually grew up being outside, how healing it is. And Micah's Promise is based, we got our name after much prayer because there's so many verses in the Bible about God's justice, oppressed, but Micah 6:8 captured it all. We are here to seek justice. We are here to show mercy to these kids. And we have to trust God and not let him lead. So we're here to do that. So thank you so much for listening to me. One more plug before I go. We have our annual luncheon, February 27th. Demi Tebow, Tim Tebow's wife, is our speaker, and they do international anti-trafficking work. And I think that y'all would just be blessed to attend our Hope and Healing luncheon. So I just hope some of y'all.
Bobby, thank you so much for sharing that with us, and thank you for what you were doing to help, especially for those that really need that help. We do appreciate that. And in honor of your speaking today, we'll make a donation to Polio Plus, which is Rotary's work to eradicate polio worldwide. Next week, our program will be Eric Mosley, who will talk to us about Troup County, get an update on the county. And then following that, we'll do our Star Student program to recognize the Star students in Troup County. So 2 really good programs following this week. And with that, if you will stand for recite for four-way staff. This is start.
Awesome.
Right.